Welcome back to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge, and let's talk horror. Today, I'm joined by the amazing Ty Falcoa. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, Ken. Thank you so much for having me.
Dude, this is an honor for me. A little bit about you for the people that may not know you. They may not have seen your face, but I'm sure they recognize your unique voice from the renowned pop duo, Tyler and Ryan, with your brother. Also made their mark in music industry and online streaming world, surpassing 20 million views on YouTube. That's amazing. Congratulations, dude. That is so cool.
Thank you very much.
Millions of streams on their original music. But now Ty has entered a new stage of his career. After years of being captivated by music, Ty is coming into his own. He's warmed up the music world. He's warmed up to the music world. Not only now are you producing and mixing records for artists, but also in the film industry. Now, this is something I really want to dig deep on. Currently finishing up the audio production on the Haddonfield Nightmare. Some of you may remember that name because of Braden Timmons that was on the show. This is a continuation of the H2O series with Michael Myers, so keep an ear and an eye out for that. You will definitely be hearing more from Ty in the future as well. This guy has so much on his plate. Some of it we can't talk about, but some of it I'm going to try to force him to. So, like I said, you've been out here doing music for a long time, man. YouTube obviously has been very kind to you. Much like Joe DiMaggio, baseball has been very kind to me. Music has been kind to you, man. So how did everything get started with you, my friend?
Just obsessed with audio. I mean, I didn't understand it back then, but I was so obsessed with the recording process. I mean, being 10 years old, I was like just thrown into it as soon as I started learning guitar. And from then it just like blew out of proportion for me because I was, I couldn't afford it at the time. Obviously I was a kid, but I was, utilizing the USB microphone from Rock Band, the game on Xbox, and like plugging that into my Dell and just recording into a free audio program. That's kind of how everything started. And I have, my best friends are into film, and they've been into films for as long as I can remember. And so I started actually utilizing film audio, within the past like 5 years, just because I have an interest in audio in general, and that transcends music. But music was really the beginning part for me when it comes to audio in general.
And it's funny you say that because we all start, like you talked about how you started with a USB mic from Rock Band. Growing up, I was in a punk rock band. We were called 7-TEN because that's how punk we were. And for the first like 2 years, we couldn't afford drums. So my drummer literally pounded on laundry baskets and pots and pans. Like that's how we wrote music, man. Like when we got a drum kit, we're like, wow, this is so much different. Like than hearing a hi-hat that's a fucking stove pan. So whatever you got to do to make music, that's what it is. It's all about the emotion that's coming out of you. And with you having an ear for music and an ear for audio in general, I've talked about on this podcast before how truly amazing a score can be and how truly captivating a score can turn a film. And let's talk about John Carpenter's Halloween for a second. He was shopping that and no one bought it. No one would buy the film. And then they got the lick, they got the score, and it was bought the next day. That's how crucial that score was to that film. And here's 3 other ones real quick, including Halloween. So 2 other ones. You got Halloween 78, you got Jaws, and you got Psycho. People that have never seen these movies still know the score. Whether it's the from Psycho or the doo-doo, from Jaws. Like that's how important a score can be. Some people that have never seen the films can still be that impacted by the score. I want you to show me one person that's ever gone swimming with their friends in a lake, and one person in that group hasn't gone, yeah. I mean, like, that's just, what I mean?
So
like,
true.
Yeah, the influence a score can have on a film can literally take a film from being shit mediocre to great or amazing even, like that's how important audio and score can be. So for you to be out there putting your ear to the ground and really busting your ass, especially for the Haddonfield Nightmare, something I'm a huge fan of. I can't wait to promote this more. And knowing that you're a part of this, that makes me even more excited. When I found out that you were doing the audio for this film, I had to reach out to you right away. Thank you. Man, I got to get this guy. I think that me and him could have a wonderful episode. And I think we could have a lot of fun. And I'm fully anticipating that. So after the Haddonfield Nightmare, do you have other things coming up that you could talk about? Or is it every kind of like...
As far as film, I'm working on a lot of different short films for a lot of friends of mine. So I'm extremely excited to do that. A lot of my friends, they like horror. They also like drama. They like things that really make you feel, whether it's, feeling scared, feeling just bad for the character, whatever it is, feeling some sort of empathy. That's a lot of what my friends really love to focus on. So anytime my friends ask me, hey, can you do like some audio for me on this? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely.
Sure,
So I'm excited for that. I mean, we did a short for my friend who lives in Vancouver now, Mitch. He did this short called Who Goes There? And it's like a short, like first person point of view where you're going to have to check it out. But he wakes up in his apartment and his wife is not there, and she's always there, but she's not this time. And you start to see like how that fear grows the more he can't find her. And it's just really, that was really cool to mix. So just utilizing what my friends are trying to convey, and the fact that they come to me and they're like, hey, can you help me, really bring the audio on this to the next level? That just excites me so much. So I will be doing more for my friends in that department. I have a lot of music that I'm working on for a lot of different artists right now. So my plate is extremely full, but I'm so grateful.
Sure. And I was gonna say, please keep me updated on what you're doing, because I'd love to keep everybody here updated on what you're doing. But
Thank
the
you.
beautiful thing about the world we live in now, guys, you don't have to wait for me, because I have all of Ty's social media links right down here in the description. So click on these links, give the guy a follow. He's a hardworking guy, and especially, like I said, scoring the Haddonfield Nightmare. I've gone on record a lot by saying I'm a big fan of fan film, especially when it comes to the horror world, because they're doing it for the right reasons. They're not doing it as a studio trying to make money. They're doing it because they love this franchise so much that they want to continue the characters that they love in the right way, and the passion that we have as fans. So fan films to me are always super great. And to see guys like Ty out here doing the audio, doing the score for these, knock it out of the ballpark, man. So you guys, like I said, don't have to wait for me. Click these links down here and give him a follow. Now, Ty, I'm so excited for what you got going on right now and in the future, my friend. But I want to take it back to the past. And I want to talk about what got you started in the horror genre, your first horror movie. And your first horror movie was?
Friday the 13th, first original, part 1. That's it.
Love it, man. I love it so much. And it's funny because obviously, thanks to the Scream movement, we all know that our boy Jason was not the killer in Friday the 13th. But this is a great whodunit film. It's probably one of my least favorite in the franchise, to be honest with you. But I do love the film very much. Do you remember how old you were the first time you seen it, Ty?
I must have been 10 or 11. Yeah. Yep. 10 or 11. Wow. My dad is a huge horror fanatic, and like he was always introducing me to everything pop culture. But when it was, horror films, he was like, he knew all the great stuff. So that was one of the first ones that he showed me.
I like him already.
Thanks, man. Thank you. Yeah, I just was like enamored with it. I've never seen a horror film before. I mean, growing up, watching Disney and watching Nickelodeon and watching, The Wizard of Oz, it's like you start to see like something like horror. It's like, what is this? I've never seen something that could like scare me in a film,
Yeah. And with Friday the 13th, as I said before, I know it's not Jason, but to be such an iconic film, and like the speech when she's like, and his name was Jason and he drowned in this lake, like that's such a powerful moment. And this franchise affected me so much that the very first piece of Sledgehammer horror merchandise I ever made is this.
That is like, so cool.
That's the first one I ever made, man. That's how much this franchise means to me. Jason, Friday the 13th in general, even if it's Mrs. Voorhees, I love everything about this franchise. So while we're on the subject of amazing, iconic scenes from this film, which scene would you say it was that affected you the most?
When I call her Mama Voorhees, when she was out there talking about her son drowning, and the flashback when you see him for the first time, and obviously not with the mask on, he's a kid. That scared me. I was terrified to see a kid drowning,
Yeah, man. Ari Lehman, the very first Jason, and what an amazing moment, man.
Yep. Yeah. That stuck with me to see that. And he's like deformed. Like it was just like, to me, I just remember watching that for the first time, like when you know where you were when Michael Jackson passed away, you know where you were when you see certain things in your life. And I remember watching that and just being like, wow.
Red Robin. That's where I was when I found out about MJ, man. I was devastated.
Wow.
I was devastated. I was like, oh, the man in the mirror. No.
Yeah.
God, no.
Yeah. I was at it's so funny. I was at a oh my God, I can't even think of his name right now. I'm blanking. A Jimmy Buffett show. I was at a Jimmy Buffett show. I was a kid. And my parents brought us to a Jimmy Buffett show. So like that was the first time I saw boobs in person, because girls would walk around topless, and that was the first time I remember hearing about Michael Jackson's death. It was like I was just like, it was over. I was like, what is going on? I do not know how to process this.
That's a horror movie in itself. Titties and death at a Jimmy Buffett concert.
Yeah, I was just like, what is happening right now? So that was a very overwhelming day for me. But like I was overwhelmed with sadness to know that Michael Jackson had passed away, you know.
And, you know, the personal life stuff, obviously separating art from the artist. If it was proven he did that stuff,
right,
I'm done with it for sure. But I don't know, man.
Right.
And I don't want to sit here on record and say, oh, I completely believe in Michael Jackson. Or I'm not a victim shamer. If these kids say it happened, I got to believe that it happened. And it's such a disappointment. But as a child, Michael Jackson had a huge influence on me.
Of course.
And to disassociate myself with someone that made such a huge impact on me is very hard to do. But
of course, if
he did that to those kids, and you got to believe these kids that are saying it, fuck him. You know, I hate to speak ill of the dead, but you can't hurt children, man. There's never ever. I've talked about this before, man. With murder, somebody might have had it coming, man. That person may have had it coming. There's never ever a reason to touch a child or rape a woman or a man. Rape 100%. And pedophilia, there's never an excuse. You can have an excuse for almost anything you do in life. Rape and pedophilia, there is no excuse that you could say that those people deserved what they had coming. So
absolutely. I know it's a really, really edgy subject to get into, man. But you know, that brings me back for sure.
Mm-hmm. And while we're speaking of edgy and crazy, disgusting subjects, when you think of Friday the 13th, what is the first thing that pops into your head?
Jason, of course. I mean, that is the first. Like he is the iconic man behind the hockey mask, you know, and I think because the first one was so like it affected me so much, I think a lot of it relates to the almost along the same lines of Jaws, where you don't see the shark until the end, and then you know you really don't know what's going on until the end when Mama Voorhees comes out and she's like, hey, by the way, it was me, you know, I've been killing you guys. Right. You find out it's her and you're like, hang on a second. That is why I think it impacted me so much.
Mm-hmm. And like you said, even though Jason's just a kid drowning in a lake, he's still in the movie. That's an argument I have with people. Like we talk about Friday 5, which is Roy Burns under the Jason mask. Right. But you know, I've grown to love Friday the 13th Part 5. I think it might be up there in my top 5 favorites in the franchise, but that movie's a total Jason film up until the end. You find out it's not Roy Burns. It's totally Jason throughout the whole movie. Right. They just have the shitty reveal at the end, but still totally a Jason flick, man. Exactly. So we talked about which scene impacted you the most, Ty, but what would you say your favorite scene from Friday the 13th is?
The whole franchise or just that film?
Just the first one.
My favorite scene. Ooh, that's a good one. I would have to say, gosh, that's tough. I think I completely skipped on her name. The main character who eventually survives, obviously.
Adrienne King.
Yes, when she's in the bathroom, like the bathrooms, like those like bathrooms where Jason or the mother, she's hiding inside one of the like the closet things. That is probably my favorite scene because that is one of the scenes that keeps me on the edge like the most. So I would have to go with that scene in general. It just stands out to me.
Very suspenseful.
Yeah. I would have to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, and now, my friend Ty, I got to darken this up a little bit. We're having a little bit of fun here, but we're going to get dark now for a second, my friend. Obviously, with horror movies, we all love death. The kills are something that we all look for in the horror films. What would you say I hate saying favorite kill because it's dark, but what kill would you say impacted you the most from Friday the 13th?
Probably, I think the first one that you actually see when the kids are kind of hanging around the camp, you know, they're singing songs and, you know, they got the fire, they're just hanging out. I think the first one that you see where you see the girl just like running away from Mama Voorhees, that one, exactly.
You get that freeze frame.
Yeah. that's gonna be the one for me because like that's the first one I ever saw. I mean, I had never seen a horror film before, so it's a lot of it's like, you know, people ask me what my favorite Star Wars film is, and it's A New Hope, because it's so nostalgic for me. It's not like the most interesting or the most fun in my opinion, but because it was the first one that I saw, that's my favorite. So I think the first kill that I ever saw it has to be my favorite.
And it's funny because like this film, whenever I talk about this film, it's always the Kevin Bacon kill, you know, and I love that kill. You know how she grabs his head and pushes the arrow up through his neck. I do love that kill, but I agree with you. There's something about that first kill because you're hitting the ground running. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yep. Like, and that's what I love about the early slashers. Like, with Halloween, you have Michael killing his sister right at the very beginning. Yep. In this, you have these kids dying right at the very beginning. You're hitting the ground running with these films, and I absolutely love that.
Kevin Bacon, that Kevin Bacon scene is like that is, I remember the first time I watched that, like, I'm telling you, the whole film just affected me, but to see that happen and to do that in, like, without, they didn't have CGI. So like, that's just, it's just,
the practical effects are amazing there. I mean, when you watch it now, you can kind of see the discoloration, but still, man, it's amazing. And I do got to throw this out there. For me, it's Empire. Oh yeah. There's something about Empire, man. And this is a true story. I hope she doesn't ever watch this and find out that I'm telling the story, but the first girlfriend I ever had, the very first time I had a girl tell me that she loved me, I said, I know, back to her.
Oh gosh, that is great.
It did not work out, man. Like, I was going to say it was the first girlfriend, but I thought I was so Han Solo badass. Yeah. I know. She was like, fuck this guy, curly-headed fuck. Since we're talking about a franchise here, Ty, I do want to ask you, in the Friday the 13th franchise, which film in the franchise would you say is your favorite?
My favorite has got to be, I might probably Jason Goes to Hell. I think, probably Jason Goes to Hell. I think because for me, I'm a huge fan of anything like 80s in general, like 80s and like early 90s, because it's so nostalgic for me. It's just like so crazy. And I know like a lot of Friday the 13th takes place, like they were released in the 80s,
Sure.
But there's something about that film that is nostalgic for me. Maybe it's because I watched it as a teenager and like that was one of the next films that I ended up watching, from Friday the 13th. Yeah. But that's gotta be probably one of my favorites from Friday the 13th, I think.
That film gets shit on a lot, man, because Jason's not in the film a lot. He's a word that goes from person to person. Yeah. But the studio went to Adam and they were like, listen, get that fucking hockey mask out of my movie. So we had to write a movie without Jason being a Jason film. So he was really in a rock and a hard place, man. Yeah. And I'll tell you this, the end of that movie, when Freddy's glove comes up and takes Jason's mask, nothing, dude. I fucking went nuts, told my whole family, Freddy and Jason, and then we ended up getting Freddy versus Jason, which had terrible execution, terrible CGI, but dude, it's Freddy and Jason in the same movie. I watched that movie 1,000 times in a row. Dude, the movie could be them sitting in a military bathroom taking a shit across from each other, looking at each other, and I'd still watch it, man. Just because it's Freddy and Jason in the same film, man.
Because it was so unorthodox for a Friday the 13th film, I think that's why I gravitated towards it more. And I'm an underdog kind of guy. And I think that's probably why I love it so much. But I mean, when Freddy versus Jason, when I first saw that, and like that kill where I don't know if it's me or like if anybody else saw this, but when Jason goes and kills the boyfriend in the bed, and just like folds the bed in half. And that was so epic for me. And it was almost kind of a nod to like the Kevin Bacon kill in the first one. Cause I just he's in bed and he fucking just dies right there. But not only does he die, he gets folded in half. You know what I mean? And that was just, to me, that was a huge kill in that movie.
And the thing about that kill, every time I watch it, I'm like, yes, Jason, because that guy was a fucking douchebag, man. Like, treated this old lady like shit. Like, he's just a total piece of shit. Yeah. So, that's one thing about Jason I can say. There's so many times in his movies, Jason Takes Manhattan, when they're shooting that girl up with drugs, the heroin that doesn't want to, and Jason kills them. You're like, yeah, Jason, fucking get them.
They did drugs. Like,
ready to rape this girl, and he just fucking kills them. You're always like, yes, Jason, you're the shit for doing that.
Right.
But so, Ty, we talked about your first horror movie, my friend, but now I'm going to do a little bit of a curveball. I want to go scream on you here for a second. Sure. What's your favorite scary movie? What is your favorite horror movie of all time?
Oh my God, my favorite of all time. That is a tough one. It's crazy because right now I do a lot of thrifting with my dad. We go thrifting a lot, and we go and look for DVDs specifically because like the DVD collection and Blu-ray collection is our thing. And we're looking for horror right now, and there's not much that we don't have. So as far as like, you know, scary wise, I think of all time, The Conjuring really messed me up. The first time I saw The Conjuring, that really messed me up. But there's I'm also, like I told you, I'm really unorthodox with this stuff. My favorite is the first Frankenstein from Universal.
Nice, dude.
Like way back. That's my favorite. And I don't know why it is. I think I also have like a huge love for Universal in general. But because that was like the first of its kind, I mean, like I know Dracula was one thing and that was before Frankenstein, but Frankenstein was being made from a book to a film with theatrical music and all this, like that was the first of its kind. So that probably has to be my favorite.
And I'm telling you, man, Frankenstein, such a great movie. I have the Universal Monsters box set. Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, Creature from the Black Lagoon was always my shit when it came to Universal Monsters. Yeah. I love Frankenstein. I love the Mummy. I love the Invisible Man. I love Dracula, obviously. But man, Frankenstein, when you watch this movie now and you see the end where they're burning that windmill and Boris in there, like those practical effects, it's amazing, man. Like the movie is so fucking good. And that's another one I could watch over and over. There's so much heartbreak in that movie, so much sadness. Just such an amazing, amazing film, man.
Yeah, that has to be my favorite of all time, just because of not only the nostalgia, but because of how much they actually have in that movie. That is, you know, you got the music, you have the emotion, you have the storyline, you have the creepiness. That's what it is, you know. And Karloff, like he's a legend. So he was always the legend. So how could I not?
Well, and to be honest with you, if we didn't have the Universal Monsters, we wouldn't have Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, Chucky, Pinhead. I fully believe that everything goes in circles, man, and everything influences. And I think without the Universal Monsters, we wouldn't have got what I consider my Universal Monsters from my childhood. Right. And I mean, you look at Friday the 13th Part 6, that is a direct homage to Frankenstein. I mean, they bring Jason back from the grave by fucking electrocuting him. And that's when he's like zombie Jason. And he's just like a total Frankenstein. And he even like gets with that little kid at the one point. Like, it's just a total homage to Frankenstein. C.J. Graham played an amazing for Jason Voorhees in that film. Yes. So yeah, the way that they just influence each other is so amazing.
It's so true. I didn't even make that connection.
Yeah, dude. Like I had C.J. on the podcast. He's the one that brought it to my attention. He's like, dude, I'm a big fan of Frankenstein. So to be able to play Frank and Jason, I'm like, dude, it makes so much fucking sense. Like they electrocute him to bring him back. At this point, he's not a man anymore. He's just a mindless monster, you know, just like Frankenstein. Like he's just a mindless monster. That's a killing machine. Frank wasn't a killing machine. Frankenstein's monster, but Jason is. Wow. Frankenstein's monster has always just been like a baby, man. Like he's a huge baby, and it's sad, man. It really is sad. There's so much emotion in those movies. Right. Ty, I've had an amazing time with you, my friend. And before we end this podcast, I always end with the same question. We're going to go back to the original Friday the 13th. And what we're going to do is rank this on a skull count. Now, what we're doing, we're not ranking it on score, production, audio. We're not being critics. What we're doing is ranking it on how much this movie affected you on first viewing. So 0 being the worst, 5 being the best. You can use half and quarter skulls. What would your ranking of Friday the 13th be, my friend?
Probably a 4. Because I had nothing to compare that with. So I probably wouldn't have known that, you know, it would affect me so much, especially like the first time watching it. Right. But it's up there, you know what I mean? And like that kind of shaped my perspective on the horror genre in general. So
and it's a great whodunit. I think because we all know for so long that it's Mrs. Voorhees, you know, but for the longest time, that was just an amazing whodunit film. Like, throughout the whole film, like, who's doing this and why? And then to have that big reveal, you know, when she's like and his name was Jason, and you're like, whoa, this bitch is crazy. Like, she's killing people for fucking, holy shit. You know,
exactly.
Yeah, it's just such a, like I said, it's probably in my bottom tier of the Friday the 13th films. That's not a slam against the movie. That's just that's how much I love the other ones.
Right.
I think this movie, you know, even though Victor Miller came out and straight up said, you know, we wanted to copy Halloween. That's what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
But they took it and you made this amazing female villain, you know, like right on par with all the best female villains of all time.
Right.
And you have an amazing final girl that gets away from her. There's just so much that goes into these films that are just so amazing. And I'm so happy to be part of the horror community and to be able to share everybody's first experience with people. Like, it's just it's an adrenaline rush for me, man. I'm excited every day to do these episodes. So to have you come on and do this is truly incredible.
Thank you so much. And I'm so happy that you were able to find me through Haddonfield Nightmare. And by the way, I'm just a huge fan of just the guys I'm working with and the story itself. You know, Mike Chabante, he's actually doing the score, and him and I are working together. I'm sorry. Oh God, Adrian is doing the score. I don't even know why I said that, but Adrian he's just phenomenal. And Mike Chabante is doing Foley. So like all three of us are working together like day after day, just making this the best that it can be. So I'm super happy that you're excited for it as well.
Oh, yeah, I also want to point out though, for like 18 seconds just now, Adrian was like, "You motherfucker."
Because I've worked with Mike so much and he has scored most of the things that I've mixed. But because this is my first time actually working with Adrian, and they have completely different styles, but they're both of them are so phenomenal in their own way. And just Adrian is just absolutely killing it. So I can't wait for people to hear everything that these guys are doing.
Oh, dude, we're beyond excited to hear, man. It's gonna be such a great time to actually watch this film once it comes out. I will be keeping you guys updated, as will Ty. And you can follow that by clicking the links down in the description below. So make sure you're following him on social media. Show him some love, because this guy is going to have a whole lot of eggs in the basket, and those eggs got to come out eventually. You're going to want to be there to see what happens. So Ty, don't go anywhere, please. I got a couple more questions for you, my friend. Everybody else, as always, keep talking horror, stay what you are, and we'll see you guys soon.